Alright, we're finally here to talk about the Herrscher of Thunder. A few things I want to state before going into the test data. First off, this will not be too much of a comparison between the Herrscher of Thunder and the Hawk of the Fog. I know they're both Psychic type, Lightning Elemental, but they play really differently, and you will see that throughout the course of the video. Next, the Herrscher form. In the comment section of the overview video, I noticed a good amount of people asking how to identify the Herrscher form. I'm pretty sure I clearly stated that it's during her special combo attack and throughout her ultimate. Admittedly though, this is pretty disappointing. I personally could not find any written description of when she enters her Herrscher form in the game. I had to rely on the players I play with who would always talk about the version 1.3 beta changes and kind of read back on our conversations. I mean, it is still done on the test server, so there is still room for improvement, but meanwhile, this aspect, really poorly done. Anyway, I did state clearly in the overview, so please stop asking. Just head to the video and check it out. Oh yeah, so we're gonna move into this video, and basically we're here to test the viability of the Herrscher of Thunder, so players know whether or not they want to be getting her. And mostly it's players who would very likely only be getting her at her base S rank, and quite possibly not even getting any parts of her equipment. So the tests will be run with generic lightning sets. We'll do full sets, just to give you an idea of like what happens when you activate all the parts. Of course, not all the time people are gonna have like entire sets, and that's where you can just mix and match all the different lightning parts to give you the highest lightning or total damage boost, like I said in the overview. So they're mostly gonna be done with the Key of Castigation, but we'll do stuff like Darwin with Mag Storm and Mag Typhoon just to show the fully F2P. You know, stuff like if you have the Styx and not the weapon, if you have the weapon and not the Styx, and if you have both, or if you have neither. And the first test, of course, will be non-broken through captains who have neither, and only have the Herrscher of Thunder herself. We'll do all her basic attack sequences, her weapon skill where applicable, her special combo attack, and her full ultimate, which will include the Dragon's Entry, emptying the Herrscher bar with Bombard, using her evasion skill once because you want that time fracture, all 4 sequences of Barrage, then Bombard again, and that should be all the time we'll have before the finisher kicks in automatically. While I have the different tests running in the background, let's tackle how different the Herrscher of Thunder and Hawk of the Fog will be. The Herrscher of Thunder has her special combo attack, which granted takes a while to charge up if you do not have her signature weapon, but she also has her ultimate attack, which can be broken up into 2 parts. So you use the ultimate's entry, which already does a lot of damage, then you can proceed to do like the combo attack at the very least. Otherwise, if you have, you think you have enough time in your rotation, you can just do everything until you're about to reach the finisher. Then you can switch her out, have your supports do all your debuffs, then come back in with the finisher. Not to mention, her basic attacks deal pretty good damage. The high amount of hits works well with Mag Storm as well, and that's for captains who haven't broken through, but generally, like, Mag Storm adds 1 additional attack per hit. So you have Bombard, which hits at a rate of 1 hit per 0.2 seconds, that is pretty insane, and then you also have your basic attack, which I think the 3rd sequence has 10 hits. So, for captains who haven't broken through and do not have the Key of Castigation, Mag Storm is perfect in that sense. Then of course you have Mag Typhoon, which is a no-brainer. It has an extremely good lightning attack debuff, so you can use it before you use Shinzan Strike or before you even summon the dragon. And that so far is all just in combat. In addition, she has a great leader skill, which most people might have maxed out because Lightning Empress, farmable since a long time ago, and it gives unrestricted total damage for all members, unlike Lightning Empress who had to have all 3 Psychic. But then of course there's the initial SP that only works for Psychic types. Now that's not a very hard condition to fill. In addition to that, like if you really don't have Psychic type supports, there is still the added bonus of charging the SP of off-field teammates. Then as for the Hawk of the Fog, damage comes mostly from Tyrannic Talons, better known as AB, and of course her ultimate. So for damage testing on the Hawk of the Fog, we're gonna do Tyrannic Talons for about 5 seconds, which is about the time it takes to do all the basic attack sequences on the Herrscher of Thunder. We'll also test her ultimate attack. All tests will be done with optimal but not affixed equipment, namely Nuada's Revenge, Monet T, and Ishikawa-Goemon and Ben B. She'll be placed in a full psychic team with the Lightning Empress leader and the Divine Prayer as the secondary support. So we'll kind of see like how each of them do. There is that one difference I feel with the Herrscher of Thunder is that she can actually be open to having a different kind of team combination. I mean, you could even go as far as to use Starlit Astro Logos. Not that it's highly recommended, but you know, you do have a long burst mode and stuff like that, so it's really going to be useful to have her just jump in and do a debuff while you're halfway through the ultimate. Of course, you know, when you play up the finisher, it's going to be slightly different, but I don't really see too much of a problem in that. Just have your main support run around a little longer, then switch out the Lightning Empress while you do the QTE of Starlit Astro Logos. Of course, that's just a really niche build. I'm not super recommending it right now, but it is an option, you know, and the Hawk of the Fog is probably not going to be a Valkyrie that can play into that kind of playstyle. And, you know, there's the fact that she needs an entire team, and even though it might seem like she is only used for specific conditions, those conditions are pretty commonly seen, and that's why it seems like she's going to be so super useful. But as you can see from the damage on screen, the Herrscher of Thunder actually is able to match up with a lot of the damage that can be done with a fully equipped Hawk of the Fog. And you don't really even need full equipment to do it. Like, how many people are actually going to have to rely on a full Darwin set? Not that many. Maybe if you're really new and you happen to just come in like 1 or 2 versions ago, or maybe even this version and you got the Herrscher of Thunder, then yeah, maybe you're going to rely on Darwin, but you know, you just have to farm up in Bounty Mark for Mag Storm, and then later get Mag Typhoon, and, you know, there's that. So, I mean, crystal spending, yes, it's gonna be tough, but if you're gonna talk about a Hawk of the Fog that's gonna match that kind of damage, then you're gonna probably spend the same amount of crystals, because you're gonna have to equip her. In terms of, like, if you're gonna compare a non-equipped Hawk of the Fog to a non-equipped Herrscher of Thunder, then the Hawk of the Fog is probably gonna lose out. Now, I'm not going to do like full damage comparisons. Most of you guys have already seen a lot of data on the Hawk of the Fog. So what we're going to do with her when we get to her is just to do Tyrannic Talons for about 4 to 5 seconds, because that's the amount of time it takes to do all the basic attacks for the Herrscher of Thunder. And so we're going to match up like the damage between the two, but then of course that is like damage right off the bat. Then we're going to do her ultimate attack, and then we're going to do a fully assisted attack for both the Herrscher of Thunder and the Hawk of the Fog. So I guess in those parts you'll see that the Herrscher of Thunder does have a lot of easy re-entries. Like, you're not going to have too much build up before you get another point of like high DPS, and it can center around like what you do with your supports instead. Now of course that would mean that you have to have built up supports, and not everyone is at that state. But even at that point where you're not having a fully supported team, the Herrscher of Thunder is going to still shine, because then she's going to have time to build up her burst mode, she's going to have time to repeatedly do Shins on Strike, and, you know, overall, that's why in one of my previous streams I mentioned that if you go for the Herrscher of Thunder, it's not something you'll regret, because it's really going to be worth your crystals. And of course, something that's not really in the game, but is still part of the game, is that this is a Herrscher. You know, they only release one of these every year, and you're gonna bet that they're gonna at least make sure it works to a certain degree before, you know, they're definitely gonna balance it, and it's definitely gonna be relevant for at least a certain amount of time. The Herrscher of Reason, at this point in time, is still relevant. So now we're at the Hawk of the Fog data, and as you can see, in the 4-second span, unassisted, she's actually able to do more damage than the Herrscher of Thunder is able to do with her full basic attack sequence. Then of course, when you have 50 SP, you can actually expend it and do just about 70,000 damage, and this is on a Hawk of the Fog that is not affixed. So if you do have her fixed, maybe even higher, maybe 80,000, or even higher than that. And then when you have it like fully assisted, it can go up to maybe 400 to 500,000. That's the amount that I usually see. And yeah, also for all these tests, we do not have the Divine Keys active. And we do not have assistance from any of the emblems as well. So these are just really raw data. They can go a lot higher if you push them. And that is, because we want to do just a really fair comparison between like the outputs of both these two Valkyries. Not so much focusing on the comparison, but because people kept asking, I thought it'd be a good touch to actually add it into the video. And now we're gonna do like a 6-sided shot one because, you wouldn't always have your evasion skill up. And that does deal a lot of damage, but that also takes, first of all, a bit more time to cast, and second of all, you do actually have to have that amount of SP to actually deal that kind of damage. So if we're gonna talk about in terms of like Memorial Arena runs, sometimes you really do have like a lack of SP when you actually need it. And so there's different ways and different strategies to kind of cover for that, but what I'm saying is that is also playing into the Hawk of the Fog and the Herrscher of Thunder being very different characters, in the sense that the problems that you face with the Herrscher of Thunder will not be the problems that you face with the Hawk of the Fog. And the playstyle is going to be probably different, because not every player is going to be consistent with their Tyrannic talents. It's not that hard to catch, but maybe people are limited by like the equipment that they're using, I guess. Certain times people would say like maybe they don't have enough FPS, or they're using a phone that's not ideal for doing that kind of gameplay. And if you want to kind of have an easier time at doing like a basic attack sequence, of course you're gonna go for the Herrscher of Thunder, because she does offer that. So now we have one of the few tests that I did before actually upgrading the Herrscher of Thunder to SSS for the overview video. I couldn't really find the others, but this one is a pretty good test. It is with the Domain of Sanction. It is with the Divine Prayer that is equipped with Beethoven B instead of Newton B, because that's what you'll see for some of the builds against some of the bosses in the Memorial Arena. And it is still on an S rank, not a fixed Herrscher of Thunder. So the damage is, pretty impressive in my opinion. And she does have a lot more points throughout the flow of battle where she can actually deal that kind of damage, assisted. So it does open up a lot of windows for like your supports to be jumping in. And of course, we're comparing PRI to PRI because it's not really fair to be comparing the Key of Castigation to Nuada's Greaves. And yeah, that's all the data I can provide. It really does make sense to get the Herrscher of Thunder because, like I said, it is a big release. But I do understand why people have become a little apprehensive because of the fact that Bright Knight Excelsis didn't amount to much. And that is also one of the reasons why I pulled her for SSS, because, like, I guess it's really controversial. People just think you pull because you want to beat others, and it's kind of like a statement as well, aside from the fact that I do really like the character. It's really just sometimes people pull because they want to pull. Has the Bright Knight Excelsis been a whole lot of use to me? Not really, but like I said, it's not always about, trying to lord things over people. It's just pull for yourself, play for yourself and pull for yourself. Don't really just do things because other people think a certain way about you and then you want to have to do it for them or to beat them. It's just a lot of things, you just do for fun, and if you can afford it, then you do it. But if you can't afford it, you can still have fun, just in a different way. So I hope what I've been saying throughout the video makes sense to you and has been of some use to you. And I'll leave you guys with the rest of the generic the generic sets that were put to the test. Their damage is mostly the same. It's unremarkable. It's like most of the passives didn't really kick in to give any kind of a bonus. And I see that to be more positive than negative, because like what you really need is pure lightning damage, unless you have Benares to kind of give you a huge boost, but that in a sense is also like just lightning damage. It might sound like I'm kind of playing it down a little, but it is the way it is. It's not like some of the other Valkyries who have special triggers like Stygian Nymph. She does have really unique gameplay in that sense, and she does, her set and all that do kind of contribute to that kind of unique aspects that she has. So the Herrscher of Thunder, I feel like, is more just generic lightning damage will do the trick. And so that is good news in the sense that, whatever lightning parts that you have that give you the most lightning damage, you can just throw on her. And that also makes Darwin more relevant, because even its 3-set ability also gives you lightning damage bonus. And yeah, I really see that as a positive. I don't know if people will necessarily agree with me on that one, but my personal thoughts are that way. And I feel like the Hawk of the Fog, even though she's lightning based, will not really stand to gain that much from like a non-specific set. Because like I said, you know, her damage is really compressed. I don't think I've said this throughout the video, but her damage is really compressed into her ultimate, and you're betting it all on that one hit. Similar to how Vermilion Knight does damage with on Utu. So with that, you really need a high base attack. You really need to have specific multipliers. That's why Zhang Heng and the Ishikawa Goemon B parts work so well, because it gives you that short boost right before your, right after your ultimate evasion, right before your ultimate attack. So that itself is a really unique playstyle, but you have to have a lot of understanding. You have to know when your supports are supposed to come in, and it is very rigid in that sense that that's the only time you can actually be doing that kind of damage. If you fail, that's it, you know, come back again. And even though it's the same way for virtually any Valkyrie in the Momoe Arena, the Herrscher of Thunder is a lot more forgiving in that sense. And, you know, just on a mechanical scale, as a player, she does actually play better in that sense. Like, if you're, you know, you won't be so stressed out having to repeat rounds over and over again if you are actually going for higher scores. You can also add that to the fact that she does exceedingly well in the Abyss. Like, her dragon form is so durable, you can't die in the dragon form, and you regenerate HP in the dragon form, and you have, like, Shinzan Strike is gonna activate, like, just her combo attack is gonna activate some of your HP regeneration as well. I'm not sure if you guys saw the stream. One of the streams I did with the beta server, the Chinese beta, I was in like 300 EH or maybe 395 EH in Myriad Abyss, and it was maximum bleeding. And she made it. She just like, she's insane. She can't die. So if you're really looking for someone to push you through the Abyss, not necessarily the boss, but like all the stages, and then maybe you can switch out to another DPS during the boss, the Herrscher of Thunder is your best candidate. And so, you know, I feel like that's all the main points she has. Does she have her cons? Yeah, definitely. Like most of the other Valkyries, she is expensive. She is, you know, you might not have all the best equipment for her, and that's where, you know, there's just a difference between, like, equipment. But in general, like, her as a blank slate, I think she's good. So that's my 2 cents worth, or maybe like 20 cents worth, since I've been going on about it for so long. And I just really hope that everything has been useful to everyone who's watching. Yep, so that's it from me. This has been MG, leaving you guys with the rest of the footage, and I will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.